Good morning. This is Naji at Beta Rab Online Community, and we are continuing our series on Our World Belongs to God. This is part of a discussion series on statements of faith, and we've been looking at these different parts of this document, which summarizes the Christian faith. It actually has 10 parts. It has this first section, the preamble that enters into creation, fall, and redemption. And today we're going to finish that first section. Next will come Christ, the Spirit, and Revelation, the second part of this document. And then the final part has these last three sections: the new people of God, the mission of God's people, and the new creation. So if you've been following along, if you remember, we looked at, in the preamble, there were three parts, or 6 parts actually. God's ownership of all of the world, because he's the creator. And then his faithfulness to us, his entry into the human struggle by saving us. Then the good news that he shared with us, the message of salvation, and because of that, the hope that we continue to have. And that hope extends even beyond the struggle that we continue to have into the future and into what we hope for, that we will one day be with him in a new creation. So the beginning that we talked about then was the creation itself, that our world belongs to God, was created by God, that God himself is 3 in 1, and he made everything from nothing. We, as human beings, are made in God's image, and we are made by God to protect the well-being of all. And that by doing this, we contribute to God's work, but we also rest in God's care. We are assured of his care. The next section of the document then was the fall. Each section we've kind of depicted with a picture, and you imagine, the fall from a cliff. And our fall into sin is what characterizes, or what really defines everything, so much of our life today. The effects of the fall are everywhere. But God's image, God created us in his image, and that image in us is the part of the fall which is most painful, that his image has been defaced and has been broken, and there's pain because of that. Pain that God experiences and pain that we experience. That sin, our fall into sin, now touches everything everywhere. And because of all of this, we deserve punishment. This is the fall. And the section that we are now entering into is redemption. So redemption refers to redeeming, or bringing back someone who has been lost, or paying the price for them so that they can experience the life that they had and that they have lost. So this section has 5 parts, and we're going to look at each one carefully. I'm just going to begin by reading it with you. While justly angry, God did not turn away from a world bent on destruction, but turned to face it in love. With patience and tender care, the Lord set out on the long road of redemption to reclaim the lost as his people and the world as his kingdom. Although Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden and their days burdened by the weight of sin, the Lord held on to them in love and promised to crush the evil forces that they had unleashed. When evil filled the earth, God judged it with a flood, but rescued Noah and his family and animals of every kind. He covenanted with all creatures that seasons will continue and that such destruction will not come again until the last day when the Lord returns to make all things new. The Lord promised to be God to Abraham, Sarah, and their children, calling them to walk faithfully before him and blessing the nations through them. God chose Israel to show the glory of his name, the power of his love, and the wisdom of his ways. The Lord gave them the law through Moses and led them by rulers and teachers, shaping a people in whom God is revealed, a light to the nations. Finally, when Israel spurned God's love, lusting after other gods, trusting in power and wealth, and hurting the weak, God scattered them among the nations, yet kept a faithful remnant and promised them the Messiah, a prophet to speak good news, a king to crush evil and rule the earth with justice, a priest to be sacrificed for sinners. God promised to forgive their sins and give them a new heart and a new spirit, moving them to walk in his ways. So this is the whole picture of redemption that is presented in the Bible. Of course, it follows then that Jesus is the Redeemer. He is the one that God would send. And the next section of Our World Belongs to God focuses on Christ. So now, just little by little, we're going to work our way through these sections of redemption. While justly angry, the first word that I just want to quickly highlight is justice. And God, in his justice, acts justly. He is a just God. He must do righteousness. And if something is wrong, it must be punished. So while justly angry, it means God is angry. And he must do justice in order to let his anger come down. The Bible does describe him as slow to anger and able to overcome his anger with mercy. But justice deals with anger at a deep level and allows peace to return in a much more perfect way than mercy. Mercy does not address the justice. Mercy simply overlooks, and there is no guarantee that God's mercy will continue in the future. If we continue to make God angry continuously, there will come a time when, out of love, God will allow us to experience the full consequences, and he will no longer show us mercy. So it's a very important word that we understand God's justice. While justly angry, God did not turn away from a world bent on destruction. So this word "bent on," it's a combination that suggests that we have a person who is, it's almost like they are pushing into something. They are bent on it, suggests that this is something that no matter what, they will do. They are uh, they are unstoppable. That's the idea of bent on. And maybe the idea comes from, if you can imagine a very strong wind pushing someone, pushing them in a different direction, then in order to make progress in the direction that you want to go, you almost have to bend forward. And to be bent on something means no matter what is pushing against you, you will continue forward and you will get to your goal. The problem, though, in this picture is that our goal as human beings who have fallen, who are sinful, and who are feeling a distance from God, the image of God in us has been defaced, and so sin fills us and we continue to live in sin. Our goal is destruction, and we are bent on destruction. This is a horrible picture. While justly angry, God did not turn away from that world, though, but he turned to face it in love. This is what's amazing about the good news. With patience and tender care, the Lord set out. It means that he began a journey. He set out. He has a goal of his own, and that goal will allow us to go from destruction to salvation. The Lord set out on the long road of redemption. A minute ago, as we began, because the title of this section of Our World Belongs to God is redemption, I shared with you redemption means being bought or being saved so that you are brought back to where you were. Redemption is a process, though. It requires someone to go and to pay a price in order for justice to be done and in order to bring people back to where they were. The Lord set out on the long road of redemption to reclaim the lost as his people. To reclaim means to take back. To make a claim on something or to have a claim is to say, I own this. This belongs to me. And to reclaim it is to say, I did own this and I will own this again. This was mine and it will belong to me again. So this is what God is doing. He is setting out on this long road of redemption to reclaim us because we have been lost. We have fallen away from him, and he will bring us back into his territory, his claim, to reclaim the lost as his people and the world as his kingdom. This is God's goal in love. What is this section about? What's the main theme? It is God's response to sin, to our fallenness, and God's goal of restoring the kingdom. He has a kingdom, and he will make it whole again. If you're wanting to look at some of the scriptures behind this message, this idea, feel free to look at this, pause it, and continue. So that's section 1. The second section has the picture of Adam and Eve. Although Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden, the word expelled, it means to send out. It means that they exited, they were forced to leave. If you can imagine, maybe in the cells of our body, if something gets in there that is dirty, If there's something bad, it must expel that. It must get it out in order to stay healthy and clean. So the cells of our body expel things that are impure to keep themselves pure. And in some way, the Garden of Eden was pure and perfect. So Adam and Eve, when they sinned, when they fell, when they did wrong, disobeying God, they were expelled from the garden. They were sent out in order to keep the garden pure. And their days, when they left that garden, that paradise that God had created for them, their days were burdened. To have a burden is to carry something very heavy. Maybe you have a backpack, maybe you're carrying something in front of you, but it is very, very heavy, and it is very hard for you. It is difficult. A burden is not simply carrying anything. It is carrying something that will cause you to feel pain over time and maybe cause you to give up. So the words burdened here has to do with the way that sin makes our life heavy. Their days were burdened by the weight of sin. And even though they were expelled and they experienced this heaviness in their lives in a new way, God held on to Adam and Eve in love. He promised to crush the evil forces they had unleashed. I think in the past we mentioned this word crush. To crush means to flatten or to destroy the thing which is under your feet. And there was a promise that God made when he explained to Adam and Eve that they would experience this new heavy weight, that they would no longer be welcome in the garden. He promised them that he would crush Satan. He would crush the forces of evil. And in the future, there would be hope and peace, and there would be redemption. From the very beginning, redemption was present as soon as God found Adam and Eve had sinned. So they were the ones who opened the way for Satan and for evil forces to cause pain in our lives. But God was the one who promised in the future those evil forces would be crushed. They had unleashed them, and the word unleash maybe comes from the word leash. To leash something is to hold it and to prevent it from going somewhere. Maybe if you have a dog, you want to walk in the street. The only way to stop the dog from running away is to put a leash on the dog and to hold it and to prevent it from running. So the evil forces were unleashed, means that Adam and Eve had allowed something that was contained and it was held, stopped from affecting them. Those forces were unleashed and set free, allowed to do what they wanted in our lives. So this is a very important idea that Adam and Eve were responsible for allowing Satan to have freedom in bringing pain into our lives. But God held on to Adam and Eve in love, and he promised them that he would send one to free them and to help them in the pain that they were experiencing. So what's this section about? It is God's kindness. Even though they didn't deserve it, God was extremely kind and made promises to Adam and Eve. So we have these two parts. God responded with grace, and he mixed consequences and hope. He allowed them to feel uh, justice and his anger at their sin, but at the same time, he made promises to them. And he said that one day the pain that they were feeling would disappear. One day there would be something in the future which will transform their lives and allow them to experience complete hope again. So this is the first part of this redemption video. And I'm just going to quickly go through and show you where we are going at the end of this. When we finish the redemption section, we will head into the Messiah, the Christ, the one who was sent. We will hear about Jesus and the Holy Spirit, who has been sent to help us in our day-to-day living, and who has given us assurance that we have been saved by Jesus. After that, we will talk about Revelation and the new people of God, the mission of God's people, and the new creation, that hope that we have because of God's redemption. So, and I've chosen to use this picture of a rainbow, because that rainbow is the sign of redemption in some way. The first sign in the Old Testament that God would show that he would not destroy, but he would always find a way. This is a picture of God's redemption. So hopefully we'll see you in the next video and be able to carry on from here.